I just wanted to say real quick before we get into the video, because of the day that this is being released on, I hope that all of you have a fantastic Christmas and you enjoy the family that you get to spend time with and you get all of the presents that you were hoping to get. So big ups and stay safe out there.
Or if you wanted to see multiplayer. So, let's talk about Baldur's Gate 3. It went really well, although admittedly, again, every time I play this game, and now we're 12 hours in, there's still things that I don't understand. Actually, I take that back. I think we're 15 hours in. We are 15 hours in. I lost track. Literally every single time I play it, there's new stuff going on that I don't get.
That's because you're incapable of learning, DSP. We've been over this already quite a few times. You don't actually care about learning as long as the chat is going to continue to handhold you. So all of the lessons that you should have been taught by now throughout the beginning of the game that you should be utilizing, you're still just not getting. And because you don't actually care, you're not curious enough to find out for yourself and experiment, you're only being taught via your chat. So this problem that you're having is no way indicative of the quality of the game or indicative of a failure of the game to teach you something, and entirely your fault.
It's like, oh, I didn't understand that. What's this? You know, we hit level 4 with all of our characters, and therefore everyone gained this new feat, which I didn't know what it was or how it worked, and everyone's trying to explain to me, you know, how to pick the best feat for each particular character. It's a huge learning experience.
And that's very much part of the problem with your gameplay, DSP. You are so insistent on picking the best of this thing, the best feat, the best skill point allocation. Who's the best companion? Which is the best spell to pick during this level up? When the reality is all of it will work all of the time and you could pick anything as long as you're willing to work with it. So you could pick any spell that you want or any feat that you want in this instance, and as long as you're willing to deal with that, that's fine. It doesn't have to be optimal. It doesn't have to be the best. But of course, why would you play like that when your chat is willing to handhold you? And if you do play like that, if you play suboptimally, you might actually have to focus in on the game and try and figure something out and think outside the box. And heaven forbid you actually have to do that for once.
I almost feel like the first time you play Baldur's Gate 3, it's kind of like your education. And then if you were to go back and play the game a second time, that's your real run. Kind of like, again, as I said, when I first played Dark Souls a billion years ago, right? I just didn't get it. I was trying to learn on the fly, but there was so much to absorb and so much to try to learn without real proper explanation that first run was a nightmare, just a big train wreck. But after the fact, going back and having played it again and again years later, every run gets better and better as you understand the game more. By the end, I was doing magic runs, I was kicking the game's ass and having a great time with it, but it takes that level of investment, right?
Each playthrough is definitely different, and it definitely changes as you continue to do more and more runs. This is factual. That's with every game. You can never capture your first run again, and there are so many people out there who wish that they could experience a game for the first time again, especially games that they love. But to say that it gets better and better just isn't necessarily the case. It does get more optimized. You definitely wind up being more familiar with the game and understand how to utilize all of the mechanics that are at your disposal. But to say that it gets better and better, I just can't agree with that, because like I said, there's so many people that wish that they could play their favorite game for the first time all over again and experience that sense of wonder, that sense of not knowing what the game is going to do next. And that should be the experience that you're having with your first Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough, especially if you're not understanding the mechanics yet. You should be thinking about it more. You should be wondering and thinking outside of the box, trying to figure out how to utilize the mechanics to fit whatever situation that you're in, because that's part of the gameplay. But because you're going to be handheld all the way up until you rage quit, you're never going to get to experience a genuine first playthrough of the game like everybody else did and fell in love with.
Again, I'm very happy that you guys have been helping me with this playthrough, because if you weren't, I don't think I would be liking it. I probably would be very frustrated not understanding certain gameplay mechanics and the like. Of course, going hand in hand with that are a bunch of idiots who just complain that it's hand-holding. It's not hand-holding if people are teaching me basic elements of the game that the game isn't clearly explaining to a newbie.
And that's fine, I totally understand that. When you stream a video game, if you're having difficulty with something, your stream chat might try and help you. That's very standard for, you know, streams. But I've seen your Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough, DSP. I've seen how often you scan your chat. It is egregious, to say the least. It is absolutely absurd. You can't do anything without looking at your chat. Even just sifting through the inventories, you can't manage to get through doing that without looking over. And that's the problem. If you can't even take items out of an inventory without looking for your audience to tell you what you should and shouldn't be taking, you might as well just not play the game. But you say, then why are they sitting here? They might as well just watch on demand when they can't help anyway, right? What kind of an attitude is that to have? That's not why they show up. They don't show up specifically to help you live. That's not the point of showing up to a live stream. There's more to interaction than just hand-holding you. You know that. I know that you know that. You're always going on about all of these meaningful, curated, robust style conversations that you're having with your audience, these meaningful interactions. Do you think that it's just hand-holding now? That's all that matters? That's what's meaningful? That's just an embarrassing mentality to have, and I have no respect for it.
You know, that's the difference. Anything that's explained to me, that's hand-holding. Well, then you're an idiot. Am I an offline streamer? No. People are going to want to watch the playthrough and help me to enjoy the game and understand it. Or else, why are they sitting here? They might as well not watch the stream and just watch on demand later when they can't help, right? What's the point of the live stream exactly? So, yeah, it gets to me when people sit there and just complain constantly about something that, like, that's the whole point. I wasn't going to play the game because I knew how overly complicated the game was, which is not bad. It's just different from what I'm used to playing. I already told you I didn't think it would fit my stream format because of the kind of gamer I am, but people bought in and said, no, we are going to be here. We are going to help you through it. We're going to explain the mechanics. We want to see you enjoy the Game of the Year per the Game Awards.
And so there you have it. Right there, he just admitted that he actually had no intentions of playing this game. It was never really on his docket of things to get to. So he can sit there and say, oh, I was telling people that it was when we had time and when it made sense in the schedule. And that's clearly not the case, because he just said out front in front of everybody he had no intention of playing the game because of the style of game it was, that it wasn't going to fit his variety style, and it was a very complicated game. But since people decided to give him their buy-in or put their money where their mouth is or whatever he wants to say, he's decided that he's going to play the game up until they quit paying him and hand-holding him, in which case he's clearly going to drop the game.
So I was like, all right, and that's why I'm doing it, right? So I'm playing it, and really, honestly, 15 hours in, it's enjoyable. Is it the best game I've ever played? No. Is it the worst game I've ever played? Hell no. But it's an enjoyable experience because I'm here with you guys learning day by day, and I'm very happy to do that, okay? So, I'm going to keep that going, and I had a good time. We did a lot of stuff. I don't really want to talk in detail about each little thing that we did on Wednesday, but we did a lot. Again, fighting a bunch of new enemy types, which, you know, learning them, and then following the side quest plot line and doing a bunch of stuff, and then recruiting a new party member at the very end of the stream and then running out of time. So, I'm excited to continue on today.
Oh yeah, DSP, we can tell just by the way that you talk about the game that you are super excited to continue to play it. We can tell that you have a real vested interest in completing this playthrough and you want to see the end, and that you actually are really intrigued by the story that is going on. And for all of my viewers and listeners that have a difficult time telling whether or not someone is being sarcastic or not, I very much was, and I don't believe any of that, obviously.
All right, but it was a great stream, and I will say this, even though attendance has dwindled, because it has, you know, that first Baldur's Gate 3 stream, it was like 13 to 1400 viewers. Then the second stream, it was like 700 viewers. Then the third stream, it was like 600 viewers. Now we're down to 400 viewers. Am I pissed off about that? No.
Well, if you're not pissed off about it and it doesn't really bother you, or so you're letting on, I don't really know why we're talking about it, DSP, unless you've got something else to say about it. But if you're not upset that the viewers are dwindling, then the only other answer is that you're happy they're dwindling, and I have a weird suspicious feeling that that is not going to be the case. That those words are never going to leave your mouth. So I gotta ask, what are we doing here, Bappa?
Not everyone's going to watch the whole playthrough. Some people only wanted to see the very beginning to see how I was going to play it. Maybe they'll watch later on demand, but they're moving on. You know, it's the same thing with the on-demand views. The first few videos have tons of views, and they just taper right off. And that's to be expected. Any game that has a lengthy plot, that has a lot of stuff to do it, you know, kind of a slow build game like this one, never do you really retain overall viewership or anything like that. For me, I don't care. What I care about is engagement, that people are going to keep coming to the streams, enjoying them, and interacting with me, and we're going to have this great time making an entertaining product for all.
How can you sit there and say that you don't care whether or not the views are tapering off on your Baldur's Gate 3 playthrough, and then say that the things that you do care about are engagement and people showing up to the streams and having a good time and making a good product for all? Do you not understand that part of that is keeping people engaged enough that they want to continue to see the playthrough, in which case your viewer numbers would reflect that? I mean, let's do a little analogy here, Phil. Let me really just put this into perspective on what you just said. Let me just, yeah, that's a little better. Okay, let's say you had a sandwich shop, right? And your goal for the sandwich shop was pretty much the same thing that it is on your streams, to make money, to continue to pay your bills, to continue to operate your business. Because that's what you're saying here, really. Your whole goal is to continue to do what you've been doing, putting out your product and continuing to pay your bills. If that's your end goal, you cannot honestly say and have it make any sense that you don't care whether or not you have customers coming into your sandwich shop. That is the very lifeblood of the business that you are running. In this analogy, there will be no customers coming in and purchasing purchasing sandwich if you don't care whether or not your customers continue to come in? That doesn't make any sense. So when it comes to your stream, it doesn't make any sense to say like, oh, all I want is engagement and people to come by, but I don't care about the views, because that is the very lifeblood of the product that you are pushing, DSP. You need views. You need people there. You need people to continue to want to see the product that you're pushing out. You need people to continue to want to eat the sandwiches. And while you could argue that as long as you have, you know, a set amount of customers that continuously come in and continuously buy your sandwiches, it doesn't matter whether all of those other customers decide that they no longer want to come here. But that's not necessarily a good idea and something that you should just continue with and think that is acceptable, because you shouldn't be beholden to just a handful of customers like you are. But you've made it very clear that you're not interested in appealing to a general audience of normal style individuals. You would much rather have your whales, because it's so much easier for you to please 6 different people that will continue to pay all of your bills, rather than have to appeal to a larger audience when you are just as unlikable as you are. Because it's so much easier to sell the same 6 people a $100 sandwich that in reality is just spit in a napkin than it is to continuously put out fresh, good, gourmet style sandwiches. But enough about these goddamn sandwiches. Allow me to change clothes, so listen to the guy.
If at any time I get bored with the game, you get bored with the game, or for some reason we're not enjoying what we're doing together, then what's the point? Same thing if people just stop showing up. If people stop showing up entirely and engaging, then there's no point in the playthrough.
And you just proved my point right there. You say if everybody stops showing up and engaging, then there's no point in doing the playthrough. So you very much do care about the amount of viewers you have, because if they go below a certain number, you would then say that there's nobody showing up anymore and nobody cares, so why are you doing it? Why did you say the stupid thing and make me bust out my sandwich degree if you already knew that it does in fact matter whether or not people are showing up? And I want to point out that when he's talking about the conditions that need to be met in order for him to continue to play the game, it's engagement, people showing up, and as long as he isn't getting bored and you aren't getting bored. All of those prerequisites need to be met. And I can tell you from experience of watching DSP's different playthroughs that he very much just gets bored on a whim and will stop playing the game because of it. All it takes is a couple slow streams or a couple of streams where he feels like he didn't make the progress that he was supposed to, and he'll say that he's not having fun anymore, and then what's the point? And then the playthrough is gone and all of that money and handholding was for naught.
That's why I'm enjoying the game to begin with. It's you guys helping me with it, not just me playing it for myself. You understand? So if we keep that going, I'm okay. So let's see how it goes today. This week, you wanted to see Baldur's Gate. You're going to see a lot of Baldur's Gate. It's today, it's Tuesday and Wednesday. So even though this is an abridged week because of the Christmas holiday, I'm still playing Baldur's Gate 3 times, which is just as much as I've played it each of the past weeks that I started playing it. I'm not reducing the amount of Baldur's Gate gameplay because of Christmas. We're going to keep this as the main daytime stream for now and see how it goes.
And I'd be really shocked if he could continue playing the game how he has been. Because with the amount of handholding that's required to get him from point A to point B, the dents have to be absolutely exhausted by the end. I don't know how many of you have experience in training some sort of new hire, but that's what I imagine handholding DSP through a game is like. But the new hire in this case is DSP, and he's one of the new hires that you don't think should have been hired in the first place because he can't comprehend any of the tasks that he's supposed to be accomplishing. That no matter how many times you walk him through the process, he just seems to mess it up every single time. But he also wants to complain about how much he is or isn't being paid, and he wants to leave every single day on time and isn't willing to put in any extra work whatsoever.
Okay? But I certainly hope that you guys are going to continue to show up and hang out with me and make this a great playthrough like you have so far. Okay? Excellent, right? And thank you so very much. I hope that you guys have enjoyed. I've enjoyed, for sure. And let's keep it rolling, shall we?
Yeah, so we don't care about views, but we need you to continue to show up. I hope you guys enjoy. But unfortunately, this is where I'm going to have to agree with DSP because I want to keep this thing rolling. This is going to be a two-parter. Whoa! And I don't mean this is going to be a two-parter in the sense that I'm cutting it into 2 parts. I mean, I'm combining 2 different segments. I'm going to do it in 1 episode. So big ups, the double feature. So I have to give an additional shout out to Doody Streams for this clip as well. I really appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much.
Then on that late stream on Wednesday night, and this is really what we need to talk about, all right? On Wednesday, we played Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, and you guys voted this time to do Warzone, which I'm okay with. We had only done 2 major streams of Warzone up to that point, but, you know, what, 6 hours of gameplay of it? And so I was like, you know, this is fine. let's do some Warzone. Let's see how you guys think about it. Actually, I think we've done 4 hours of Warzone, right? Or was it 6? I can't remember. I don't remember actually how much Warzone we had done at this point. I can't remember.
So first it's 6 hours of Warzone, then it's 4 hours of Warzone, then it was back to 6, and then we just decided that we don't know. It is an amount of time in Warzone. So I guess big ups for the amount of time we spend in Warzone. For a guy who's so anal about his schedule, you would think that he would be able to remember when he did and didn't play games, because he only tells you when he's going to play them all week long every single day. But hey, sounds good to me. And by the way, Cat agrees.
But I was interested to see how it would go. You guys voted for it. And I'm going to be honest with you. After an hour, I was incredibly bored. All right? Warzone, I hate to say it. First of all, I never really liked Warzone. I want to make this clear. I liked Battle Royale when we were playing games back in the day. All right? You know, the first one I ever played was, oh God, PUBG Battlegrounds, right? But even that wasn't great. I thought that it was just okay, and it ran like shit on the Xbox. Years later, they fixed it to run better on the Series X, but at that point, it was outdated.
I guess shout out to PUBG, or PUBG Battlegrounds as DSP calls it, because we all know the full name of the game is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, similar to calling the ATM machine. But nitpicks aside, I really don't know how DSP ever came to the conclusion that those streams were really all that great of an idea to begin with. Because I remember watching a lot of those streams live on the Tevin streams, and they were just the most boring things on the planet. I'm thankful now because there was so much downtime in those streams that he wound up just saying a bunch of very strange things and giving us way too much information on things that he probably shouldn't have been talking about just to fill the dead air. But that really only proves my point that maybe it wasn't the best idea, and after doing a couple of those sessions, DSP probably should have figured that out. But of course, DSP cannot learn from his mistakes. He can't actually improve upon himself whatsoever. And for some reason, he even went out of his way to double down and continue to play battle royales as much as possible, trying each new one that continued to come out. But I'm getting ahead of myself because DSP is going to run us down all of the battle royales that he played in order and tell you what he thought about each one.
You know, I went from PUBG, then over to other games like, what was that one that I played? H1Z1, I think it was called. We played that for a little bit, right? Again, outdated, but at least it ran better than PUBG. And then when Black Ops 4 came out, and it had Black Ops 4 Blackout, the first real battle royale mode added to Call of Duty. That one resonated with me. Why? The map wasn't ginormous. It allowed you to feel at home and learn certain areas you like to drop, certain loadouts, things like that. The fighting was a little bit more straightforward. I felt like the gunplay. I liked the gunplay of Black Ops 4, so to translate that into a battle royale was pretty good, right? So if you remember, we played that almost a year. Like, it went really well. Those were nice social streams where once I played it for like a week or two and I settled into it, I felt at home enough that finally we could relax together. And so those streams ended up being hangout sessions where we'd have fun conversation while I was doing Battle Royale and all of that, okay?
Yeah, once he started playing Black Ops 4 Blackout, he definitely spent more time like laying on the floor in the bathrooms just talking to his chat rather than actually playing the game. I can't tell you how many times I would be playing games myself and look over at the DSP restream and he's just camping in a bathroom. It was honestly absurd. And that's why I don't really understand how he has all of these critiques for these games, because he doesn't actually wind up playing them most of the time. He just winds up camping somewhere with a bunch of loot until he dies. Because every gunfight that he gets into, it's pretty much a 50-50 shot whether or not he's gonna come out on top. And that might be too generous even for the guy. It might actually be something like 75-25% whether he's gonna win, and he is not the 75%.
And then Warzone started to come out, and Warzone 1 I played, and I did not like it. I thought that it sucked. I didn't like the gunplay. I thought that the animations were too overly elaborate to even reload your goddamn gun, which was super frustrating. I didn't like the hit detection. I didn't like that every character was like a tank. I just didn't like Warzone 1.
I just gotta stop DSP right there for hating on the reload animations in Modern Warfare 2019. Those animations were top-notch and they looked fantastic. I love a good reload animation, and those were really, really good. I don't know what them being elaborate really has to do with the gameplay, so much so that you didn't like the game for it, being that it doesn't actually have any effect on the gameplay whatsoever. Like, the reload animations are gonna be how long they're going to be. It has nothing to do with what they decided to animate in that time. It just seemed like a weird complaint to me. I've never heard anybody talk poorly about, like I said, the Modern Warfare 2019 reload animations. They look fantastic.
A ton of people loved it, and it became this thing, this viral thing on the internet where all the FPS players converted from like team deathmatch players to all of a sudden Warzone players, right? So then Warzone 2 came out. When Warzone 2 came out, I gave it an honest shot. I played it for almost 2 months. I learned the map. I got better at it. We treated Warzone 2 very similarly to Warzone 1, and we had a good time with it. But when they updated for Season 2, they ruined it. They made it so that everyone's like an ultra tank. they made it so that you can ultra camp, right? Like basically by changing the way that the game played with that season 2, it made it only that the sweats and the tryhards could really enjoy it. For someone who casually played it like me, I hated it.
So being someone that didn't actually play a lot of Warzone, in fact, I only played a couple of matches total when it first came out, I really wish DSP would have taken the time to prepare something for this segment that he knew he was going to do. Because I would actually appreciate if he could tell me some of the specific things that changed between Warzone 1 and Warzone 2 that made him dislike it more. That's actually something that I would find interesting. Because this is a problem that I have with a lot of live games that constantly change and get updated like this. I often experience that developers are just ruining games that I enjoy because they want to rebalance the meta and change all of these things, and it makes it a different game for me. But I should have learned by now that expecting or even asking for DSP to have anything prepared for a segment that, again, he knows that he's going to do today is just kind of out of the question.
And I was like, that sucks that they ruined it with the seasonal update. So now Warzone 3 is out, and I'll be honest with you, I've played it now for what? I want to say like 6-7 hours, maybe? I don't even know if I played it that long. I just don't like it. It's boring. That map is super boring. It's huge, but because it's huge, it's not fun. Why do you want to be on a map where every building has 17 floors? Why do you want to be on a map where there's an underground sewer, a tunnel above it, a street level, a building, and another level? Like, it's super frustrating. It really is. Like, it's just not that fun. And then by the time you find someone, one of two things happens. Either they get the drop on you and you die and you had no chance to defend yourself. Wow, congrats, you wasted 15 minutes of your life.
I mean, the developers probably expected you to actually be paying attention to the video game, though. Like, actually engaging with the game and using your situational awareness just, around you, listening for footsteps, knowing where people typically drop, and the typical gameplay that you might experience from other players. But of course, this is DSP we're talking about. He's not going to do any of that. He wants to just smash his face into the wall and hope that he wins.
Or, the flip side of that, you get into a firefight with a person, and now you have to pray that the game's connection is good. Because half the time it's not. Half the time you get into the firefight, you swear you're shooting them more than they're shooting you. You swear you're aiming for the head, and then you die, and it shows the kill cam, and on the kill cam, what happened on their side was completely different than what you just observed in your own game. And it's like, so why did I play this? Like, why did I waste my time on this shit? It's shitty, right?
And this is a completely made up scenario because we've talked about this before. DSP does not watch the kill cams. Even when he does go out of his way to do exactly that and watch the kill cams to try and prove that the game is lagging or something, if you really slow down the footage and analyze it like you should, to get an accurate depiction of what actually happened, 100% of the time DSP is missing his shots. 100% of the time, because of the flinch and the recoil combination, DSP is not hitting. But just because he feels like he should have been hitting, he's going to say that he was hitting, and it's all the game's fault. It's laggy. The hitboxes are screwed up. It's the net code. Because that's just the MO for the guy. It's never his fault. He did everything correct and nothing wrong, obviously.
Now, some people are saying, well, if you play duos, if you play trios, if you play quads, that's better. That's great. I don't do that. I don't care.
I really thought he was going to say, I don't do that. I don't have friends. But no, we don't care. Okay, sounds good.
I don't have a team of people to team up with, nor do I have a desire to do that. I'm not going to team up with randoms who I don't trust and don't need to waste time communicating with. If I'm going to play it solo, great. And if not, then there's no point in playing Warzone. You understand? So I played it now, and I'm just bored. At this point, I'm literally bored. I'm like, wow, I was actually starting to fall asleep. And this is after me having just gotten like a top 10 placing. I had a top 3, third place.
Getting a top 10 or even a top 3 placement doesn't mean shit when you spend most of the game looking at the floor and pressing X to pick shit up though, DSP. I think that's the part that he's failing to realize, is that his gameplay sucks. He is bored. He is actively falling asleep because he decides to play the game in the most boring way possible. When he hears people getting into a gunfight, he is actively running away from the shots. DSP spends most of his time just being a loot goblin instead of actually engaging in the gunplay that isn't a first-person shooter, and that is crazy to me.
And I started playing, I'm like, this is just fucking really abysmally boring. I'm looking at the map, I'm like, oh, where should I drop, right? Literally none of the parts of the map are interesting. Oh, look, a small village. Oh, look, the city with the skyscrapers. Oh, look, the oceanside thing that's literally just a bunch of buildings on fucking concrete. It's just boring.
I get what he's saying, and as somebody who hasn't played Warzone since, like I said, when it came out, and I only played it a couple times, I can't tell you whether or not he's lying here or whether this map is actually super good or something. What I can tell you, though, is that if you really wanted to, you could absolutely describe anything in any game just like this if you really wanted to and make it sound as boring as possible. And given that it's DSP, I really can't trust anything that he says, so please, in the comments, if you are an active Warzone player or you played a lot of Warzone and you're aware of what the map is like, please tell me, is the map as bad as DSP is letting it on to be, because I've seen him before describe things, and then when you go to actually experience them, it is nothing like he described, and he completely misrepresented everything.
There's nothing interesting. There's nowhere unique to land and do anything in. The map is shit. They really fucked this up. I think Warzone 3 is the worst version of Warzone so far. I mean, and that's me hating Warzone 1. I actually think this is the most boring one they made. So basically, I played it for an hour, and the funny part was, when the connections were good, I was kicking butt. I got 2, 3, 4, 5 kills. Then, of course, I would die. And then sometimes I'm in the gulag, and it's a head-up fight, and I completely outsmart the person. And other times, it's complete nonsense. So here's what happens in the gulag for one time, right? It's me 1v1 with someone.
Of course, when the connections are good, DSP's kicking ass and he's one of the best players in the world, apparently. But when the connections are bad, or at least bad according to DSP, because the ping in the corner is telling him that it's the exact same ping from the last connection. But when they're bad, DSP is doing bad, obviously, dude. But now we're gonna get a play-by-play breakdown from the guy and his gameplay. So take this entire next segment with a grain of salt, because I cannot confirm or deny whether or not the gameplay that is going to be shown right now is the exact situation that he was talking about, because it really just doesn't line up with what he's saying if you slow it down and again watch the footage the way that you're supposed to. So for all of my audio style listeners, there is going to be some gulag footage here that's going to play, and it's going to play a little faster than he's going to talk about it, and I'll give my best summary of it at the end if you cannot get to your screen right now to actually watch the footage.
I run up on them. There they are. I shoot them 3, 4 times. Okay, they run behind a barrier. Okay, so what are they doing? I know what they're doing. They're going to reload because they were firing at me and missing. So I'm going to turn direction. I'm going to completely turn around, run behind them, run up, and I know they don't have full health because I just filled them with bullets, and I'm just going to melee them to death really fast, right? So I do that. I run up behind them. I melee them once, and then I instantly die. What? It literally didn't show them hitting me with a gun. Then you look at their kill cam, and on their kill cam, when I ran up behind them, somehow they were already facing me and filled me with bullets, and I never meleeed them once.
So yes, DSP gets into this engagement, the guy runs around the barrier. That is all true. DSP even hit him 3 or 4 times, like he said he did. But him saying that he knows for a fact that this person is going to be reloading just isn't accurate at all. When you watch the other guy's kill cam, he 100% was not reloading and never bothered to at all. Which was a good decision on his end, because he is in an active engagement and it is close quarters. He did not have time to reload, so good on him for not doing that. I probably would have. I reload too much. It's just poor gameplay on DSP's end to think that he's going to run up on somebody that has a gun and knows where he's at and think that he's going to melee them to death just real quick. And there's only 2 ways to get behind this barrier that DSP is having to go around in order to get to the guy again. So of course his opponent checks the one way in which he was already looking and then turns around and looks the other way, and that's when DSP is running through and the guy just shoots him, because of course he does. And even on DSP's screen, he never actually got a hit marker for the melee. He never meleeed at all, in fact. It was still just doing the sprinting animation when he got to the guy. And when you watch the kill cam, it's pretty much exactly that. DSP's running up and he gets shot. He never meleeed him anyway. Like I said, I really can't tell you for certain that this is the exact footage, this is the exact gameplay that DSP was talking about in this scenario, but it seems to line up pretty well. But it just goes to prove my point that if you really slow down the footage and analyze what DSP is doing, he is not good at the game and actively making bad decisions, and when you watch the kill cam, things do line up. He just refuses to take any responsibility for his poor decision-making skills in video games, and it's astonishing to me.
So why am I playing this? You know what I mean? It's just trash. So there's no point to playing that mode. It really is terrible. It's fucking horrible connections, horrible server. You know, doesn't have equivalent experience on each side of the gameplay experience. So why? That's like playing Street Fighter, and on one side, someone picks Zangief and spinning pile drove you 3 times and insta-killed you, but on the other side, you completely dominated Zangief, and you're like, what? It's not even the same fight. How the fuck can you say this is 2 people playing each other?
And that's again just that blatant misrepresentation of what DSP actually experienced. And a horrible analogy at that. I'm not gonna sit here and act like Call of Duty is 100% perfect with their connections and everything that happens on your screen is 100% what is going to happen on their screen, because that's just not the case, obviously. Sometimes the model positioning from one person to another is not the same, and that can cause problems. But to compare it to getting dominated by a Zangief on one screen and then dominating the Zangief on the other screen is just not accurate at all. Especially in this exact scenario in which you're describing, where on your screen you again didn't get any hit markers for a melee that you supposedly did, and on their screen you also didn't get any sort of hit for the melee that you supposedly did. It seems to be accurate to me. Like I said, to be fair, was DSP's player model for the opponent where it should have been in accordance to DSP's screen? Absolutely not. I think it was a little off, but that's to be expected when you're playing Call of Duty at this point. Not that that's any sort of defense, but it's not what DSP is saying at all.
That doesn't make any sense. That's fucking Call of Duty Warzone. Like, what is this shit, right? So I just don't care. You know, I played it, and after that hour, I told you guys I was like, I'm so bored. I'd rather do anything else. And people were like, well, can you swap to regular multiplayer? So I did, and I'll be honest, I had a way more fun playing regular multiplayer than I did Warzone. But not everyone wants to see regular multiplayer. They're already bored of that too. So
I'm so glad that DSP spent $70 on this game that everybody's already bored of and he's not having fun with. It always just fills me with glee when he wasted a bunch of money on games that nobody wanted to see anyway, like Call of Duty year after year, because it seems to be the same cycle over and over again. We'll play a little bit of the multiplayer, we'll play a bit of the Warzone, it won't actually last, and we spent $70 for a game that took up, you know, a month or two of our time sporadically. And he's just filled with salt the entire time. It's kind of something else. But he's got to be playing those new hot games, dude. That's what his business model thrives on. That's the only way that he gets any sort of eyes on it, because we know that people aren't coming by for this stellar personality that he's carrying around.
we actually played a few, there's Shipmas, which is shipment with a holiday theme, which is chaotic as shit, but still kind of silly fun. And we played the other one too. There's 2 holiday themed maps. What was the other one? Oh, the stupid snowball fight. That was so dumb. A snowball fight where you have to run and pick up snowballs, and if you hit someone, they die, and you have to wait till the next round to play. It's a fucking snowball. What?
Dude, it's a stupid holiday-themed event. Why does it actually matter whether or not they're snowballs? You could have just replaced snowballs with, like, a throwing knife in the exact same game mode, and it would have made more sense. But it's supposed to be holiday-themed. That's literally all that's happening. Why don't you think about something before you say it? Please.
So in the game, let me get this straight. I can fill you with an entire clip, and you won't die, because you're a Terminator. But if I hit you with a snowball, you're eliminated, and you have to wait an entire round to play again. How about I just go to sleep and turn your game off? Right? It's boring as fuck.
DSP, you should just carry that mentality into every game that you play at this point. How about you just start turning things off and going to bed instead? That'd be fantastic for everybody on the planet.
So I didn't want to do that. So, but we did play some decent, fun matches, and I'd say the second hour was much better than the first. But overall, a very disappointing stream because Warzone just sucks. It's just super boring. And I was like, man, I actually like have no desire to play it again. Even though I've done well, and I know if I keep playing Warzone, I'll get better at it and do well. Why? It's just not fun, you know?
So Warzone once again is getting sent to Banworld. Thank God. We can move on from that. Hopefully there isn't some sort of big update halfway through the lifespan of Modern Warfare 3 that'll inevitably make DSP replay it and try it out again.
So the way I see it is, if we're going to play Modern Warfare 3, we should do some multiplayer. I'm okay with that. Every once in a while, for variety, stick in a Modern Warfare 3 multiplayer stream in there. And if you guys have recommendations of different builds to do, you want to use a melee weapon, you want me to use a certain gun or whatever, I'm totally down for that. If you want to challenge me, hey, tonight, you know, just use the dual handguns again. Tonight, hey, try an LMG. Tonight, just try sniping. I'm okay with that. That sounds interesting to me. Not go into Warzone and fall asleep. Because it really sucks, right? So
Something about the way he said, in Warzone sucks, right? It just sounds pitiful, man. Come on. You don't need your audience to validate how you feel about a game. If that's how you really feel about it, why don't you just say it with your chest and stand on it, and we can move on. And I'm so happy that we didn't get through this whole episode without a nice zoom in sip. Big ups for that. But that's gonna do it for today's video. But I really appreciate all of you guys coming by, especially because this is being released on Christmas, so I hope you have a very Merry Christmas. And if you're watching this at any other time, I hope that your future or past Christmases are also fantastic. Another big shout out to Doody Streams for both clips in this one. I really appreciate it, brother. Thank you, thank you. And a special big ups to all of my members. I'm so thankful for all of you guys, and I'm glad that you guys like the content enough to show some love in the way that you do. So thank you for that. But hopefully I'll catch all of you guys in the next video. But until then, make sure that you check out other detractor channels and dive deep into that. Snortex.